Hello everyone, my name is Lucio Mellace. Soon it will be Lucio Constantine. I changed my name, it didn't go through yet, so I'm not sure. I've made this video around New Year's, so Happy New Year's to everyone. I will be sharing some of the books I'll be reading, or maybe intended to read by the time the new year has finished. Starting off, we have Abraham Lincoln speeches, letters, miscellaneous writings, the Lincoln-Douglas debates. This is from the flap of the penguin of this cover. In addition, the first volume of the library's two-volume collection of the writings of Abraham Lincoln illuminates the political career of our greatest president and reveals his extraordinary gifts as a writer, covering the years 1832 to 1858. It contains 240 speeches, letters, drafts, and fragments that record his emergence as an eloquent anti-slavery advocate and defender of the Constitution. If you're a fan of documentaries and filmmaking, there's this documentary by Ken Burns who did one on Ernest Hemingway, the Civil War, and I think World War II, but I'm not sure. I'm a fan of Abraham Lincoln. I think his writing is pretty good, and his political views are also quite modern. So if you're looking for videos that discuss slavery, or if you're looking just for the Douglas debates, it's in here too. This is the edition. Next we have Alexis de Tocqueville, Letters from America, edited by Frederick Brown. Tocqueville wrote, I don't know how to say it, so Tocqueville wrote Democracy in America, and it was about his trip to America while explaining it to his experience to Europeans. I'm mostly interested in 1700s to 1800s, largely because of Blood Meridian. I just think the whole era is fascinating. Thomas Paine, Christopher Hitchens is a great fan of Thomas Paine, so that was the only reason I picked it up. I read a different edition from my school's library, and it's the same edition as the Abraham Lincoln one. Here you have Common Sense, The Crisis, Rights of Man, The Age of Reason, pamphlets, articles, and letters. I read parts of The Crisis, also known as the American Crisis. I've finished Common Sense, and I'm impartial towards his work. Here we have an Everyman edition from Jacques, Rousseau, The Social Contract, and Discourses. I have a complete works in nice edition from California when I went to California around a couple years ago. This hefty book clocks in at around 1,800 pages, larger than Infinite Jest and larger than Gravity's Rainbow. On the back lists some works by ancient Greece writers. The ancient Greece works: the Apology, Credo, Phaedo, Credulus, Theaetetus, Sophist, Statesman, Parmenides, Philebus, Symposium, which I read, is quite slim. Phaedrus, the Archetypes, I don't speak Greek, so I read Apology and Credo as well. It has Minos, it has laws, letters on justice, on virtue, Sisyphus, and Epigrams, and The Republic. I also read The Republic by Plato for college, but I was interested in the work before that and read before that. Following along, we have this book, nice edition, also long, clocking in at around 1,472 pages. It is the basic works of Aristotle. I read the Nicomachean Ethics, parts of Metaphysics, a few others that I don't remember off the top of my head. Next is The Evolution of God by Robert Wright, who wrote The Moral Animal and Non-Zero and was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. This is a pretty interesting book, although the introduction to the book felt like it was explaining it to that the audience was a third grader reading his book. Next is a reread. I think I've only read it once or twice. It is Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I read this in the hospital. It was pretty good. Born in Oak Park, Illinois in 1899, Ernest Hemingway served in the Red Cross during World War I as an ambulance driver and was severely wounded in Italy. He moved to Paris in 1921, devoted himself to writing fiction, and soon became part of the expatriate community along with Gertrude Stein, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ezra Pound, and Ford Maddox Ford. This is about the Spanish-American War in 1937. He was an ambulance driver at that time. It is a story of Robert Jordan, who has to blow up a bridge and fight fascists. This is another reread. My edition by Penguin Classics of Gravity's Rainbow is quite nice. I like the rough edges. Some people don't. Here is the tearing apart. I'm about that way through. Lots of science and math like Cormac McCarthy's The Passenger and Stella Maris. It's quite funny at times, but mostly just bizarre. The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious by Carl Jung. This says on the back, this ninth volume of Carl Jung's collective writing is devoted to his chief works on the concept of the collective unconscious and its correlate, that of the archetypes. In one of the sections, he discusses a patient who keeps having dreams related to water, whether that's drowning or other stuff related to drowning. So Jung linked the dream of drowning and being submerged by water in his house as a formulation of the unconscious trying to express how water is the unconscious. Another work by Thomas Pynchon that I have not read is V. It is on the back. It says, "This wild, macabre tale of the 20th century and of two men, one looking for something he has lost, the other with nothing much to lose," and V. The unknown woman of the title. It showcases a quote from the Atlantic Review on the back called, "This work may well stand as one of the very best works of the century." A reread is quite beaten on the side. I read part of this on my way to California on a plane. It's John Paul Sartre, Being and Nothingness. the principal text of modern existentialism. I do consider myself an existentialist, not much an absurdist, although these days, when I'm quite depressed, I am rather nihilistic and pessimistic in the sense of Thomas de Gotti, Emile Cioran, and Schopenhauer. Um, Sartre proposes that existence precedes essence, and that we are condemned to be free, and that once we die, nothing happens, or that it wouldn't matter if it did, anyways. These are my work. These are the books I plan on reading in 2023. And if you have any other books that you're looking forward to read, feel free to share. I recently moved from my previous house, so this is the change. My bookshelves over there, and Cormac McCarthy poster over there. I read Cormac McCarthy's new books, The Passenger and Stella Maris. I found Stella Maris to be better than The Passenger. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a review because I am obligated to mention science and math, which is a big feature of the book, like in Gravity's Rainbow. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be committed to reading it, but my friend James Bergman mentioned Phenomenology of Perception. I got this edition because it was cheap. No other reason. There's a nice edition, which he has. It says in the foreword by Taylor Carman, Phenomenology of Perception is one of the great texts of 20th century philosophy. Today, a half century after his death, Merleau, Ponty's ideas are enjoying a renaissance, attracting the renewed attention of scientists and scholars from a wide range of disciplines. Philosophers in the English-speaking world have over the last 50 years been slow to recognize the significance of his work, which resists easy classifications and summary. End quote. Um, I'm pretty sure that I won't be finishing that this year, as predictions of classical behavior goes for people. If you haven't finished it for the last 10 times, then the following 20 will most likely be the same result. That's about it. This has been Lucio Mellace, and as always, have a happy new year. Thank you.